So nice to be able to talk with you today.
Well, I appreciate you talking to people about landscape topics in the middle of a drought. It's important timing.
Yes. Welcome to Go Gardening. I'm Lee Marlowe with the San Antonio River Authority, and I'm here today with Karen Guz of the San Antonio Water System, and we're going to talk about the current excessive heat, the drought, and ways that you can help manage your landscape and conserve resources. Thanks for being here, Karen.
Thanks for having me.
Could you talk a little bit about our current situation with the drought and the heat?
To put it mildly, it's been an extremely unpleasant summer for us and for our plants. So I always feel like I need to apologize to people at the beginning for the weather. I know I can't control it, but what we are doing is trying to manage our water use during an extraordinary time of heat and lack of rain. And we have rules to do that. And the way I put it is we're trying to moderate the water people are using on their landscapes. The rules don't stop you from watering your landscape, but they do moderate it and ask you to try to be frugal with that very important discretionary water.
And are you finding that people are being frugal with their water?
Well, there's good news and there's bad news, as with many things. The good news is that 90% of our customer base here in San Antonio, the 2 million people that we serve, 90% of them are doing a really good job. They're keeping their water bills low despite the heat last summer and this summer, and they're following the rules we're asking them to. So thank you. If you're one of those 90% of the people, thank you very much for doing that.
That's great.
So that was the good news. The bad news is that with this heat, we've had some people violating the rules more than usual. And it seems to be, if you were to look at all 500,000 accounts we serve, it's about 10% that are consistently violating the rules. And those people that are violating use a shocking amount of water, and it's causing some system challenges.
Okay, Karen, so why does it matter that some people are using a lot of water on their landscapes right now?
It's a great question. I know how people think. Sometimes I have customers ask me, if I paid for it, why do you care if I used more water? Well, it's a big picture problem. When we look at the numbers last summer, just 5% of our single family customers used over 20% of the water that we sold to that group of customers. That's a huge volume. And again, why does that matter? Well, it matters in the long term. It matters right now because when usage gets really high and we have to push a lot of water in our systems, our pipes start to get stressed. They break more often. We get service outages. It's expensive to fix them. It's even hard to keep those tanks full sometimes when the usage is so high. But the long term is a big financial question. If our usage continues to grow and stay really high during these hot, dry periods, we all have to pay for more water and more infrastructure, not just the 5 or 10% who drive that demand in some summers, everybody. And so it is a huge cost savings to everybody in the community if we can moderate that and rein it in and all work together. A secondary thing people may or may not care a lot about is it helps the environment. Right now the aquifer's dropping. It means not all the springs are flowing. And a lot of people care about that too. So what you do matters financially to the community, and it matters to the environment we all live in.
That's very near and dear to our hearts at the San Antonio River Authority because spring flow is really important for the health of our entire watershed, but most definitely the river and our creeks and the life that lives in them.
Right, so it's a big picture, lots of reasons to conserve your personal water bill, the long-term cost of the water system, and the health of the community we all live in.
Thanks so much for joining me here today. This has been great information, and I understand that people can actually get a point for watching this video.
That's right. We're so passionate about having you learn about resilient, beautiful landscapes that we're bribing you to learn. Water Saver rewards that you get to gardenstylesa.com to register as a SAWS customer for. Do that first. Then you attend programs like this one. You document that you did it appropriately, and then you earn a point for it. Add up those points, and we're going to send you coupons to go to locally owned nurseries and spend it on the materials you need to get that landscape of your dreams.
That's great. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Lee.
So, how does enjoying the many beautiful parks and natural areas located in the Trinity Glen Rose Groundwater Conservation District help protect the clean water stored in the Trinity Aquifer? You can learn more at trinityglenrose.com/pollution prevention.
Welcome everyone to Go Gardening. We're here in beautiful, historic Monte Vista, and we're going to be talking a little bit about the landscape here. So I'm going to introduce our resident landscape architect.
Correct.
Okay. My name is Mark Peterson.
Mark, Clay Cauthorn.
Clay Cauthorn. I want you to tell me a little bit about your background.
Started out in Houston and worked for a couple of larger landscape design firms, and started my business in Houston and did that for close to 10 years. We moved to San Antonio and brought my business here, and took a while to get it jump started, but we moved into Monte Vista, and neighbors found out what I did, and kind of word of mouth carried it.
Word of mouth is real important in San Antonio. I
Yeah.
can't stress that enough.
So that's really how I got established here.
Okay.
So.
I was wondering a little bit about your design principles. What do you feel is important in developing a landscape?
I think one of the main drivers of my design is the architecture of the home I'm dealing with. You want to complement the architecture and not fight against what's there. And I mean, luckily in Monte Vista, we're blessed with a ton of great, design and architecture with the houses here. So I want to enhance the beauty of the house and not take away.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Mm-hmm. A real important question that I get all the time is the homeowner wants one set of design and plans, and the professional is, as you just said, the architecture. So how do you handle the meeting of the minds?
To be honest, I think as a younger guy, it was harder for me to do that. And as I've gotten more experienced and older and wiser, I think you want to help them see the possibilities, and I think we can go beyond, or based with my experience and what I can bring to the table is that ability to show them something that maybe they didn't see, and how it works with their home, and also the environment and the type of plant material we use, which I think is key now because of the water situation we're in. We need to find ways of saving water in the landscape, and also we can do that and have beauty.
That's great. Yeah.
So,
thank you.
yeah.
Let's look a little bit here about the garden and the different combinations of the beds and the textures.
Sure.
Describe a little bit about that.
Yeah.
Because
Well, the homeowner wanted kind of an outdoor room, and I brought a little bit of Asian feel to the design of the garden. I wanted curves. I wanted, obviously the plant material is varied. We have different colors, textures, shapes, flowering, non-flowering. All the material you see it's either native or nativized. It doesn't,
native to South Texas, the hill country?
Hill country.
Or nativized. That's a common word we're using now that.
It can handle the same basic, I think, environmental.
Where we're going from 2 years ago, sub-Arctic
environmental challenges.
Okay.
There we go.
There we go.
Okay.
So you mentioned the word nativized, and I know that's a very popular word we are using in the horticultural industry right now. That is not necessarily a plant which is native, but it may be an introduced one which we are now using, and it has adapted to our environment and really our environmental challenges. That it's able to withstand the sub-Arctic weather that we had, and now the immense drought that we have. So it's it's not necessarily a true native, but it has naturalized to this area, or nativized, we like to say, to this area. So I would like to talk a little bit about the plants that you selected for this area. At Saws, we used to talk about spikes and mounds. So spiky texture aside and along with mounding type of plants like lantana or some of this pavonia that we have here, rock rose. So tell me a little bit about your concepts of what plants you pick.
Sure. I mean, every one of these plants was designed into this landscape with a lot of what you said is what I brought into the design. I mean, you want the spiky, you want the mounding, you want the flowering, and they need, the size, the scale is so important in a design like this. Obviously, if you pick a plant that's too large for the space, or it doesn't work with its neighbor because of its size, or whether it's too small or too big. So this was pretty well thought out, and everything, I try to have it work. They work as a whole. It's basically, I'm painting with plants.
There you go. I like that. Painting with plants.
Yeah.
That was a great comment about scale, because we look at that and we see this fence, and then we have the Thryallis, which is a little bit higher, and then we come down to the Gulf Coast Muley, and then all the way down to this wonderful thunder turf here. So people should be always aware of, don't put the biggest plant that you have, but always imagine coming down a little bit from the side, stepping down. So that's a great work right here that you have of that kind of concept of going on. Tell me something else about these plants here.
I mean, obviously they're all native or nativized. They, once established, they'll use less water. Right now, they're needing more because the root systems are immature, and once they
it just has been recently established.
Yeah, this garden,
recently planted.
This garden was planted less than 4 months ago. So, anyway, we'll get it through the summer, and then as we get through the fall and winter, next summer we'll probably only water half as much. And in the future, maybe in a couple of years, we'll water a third of what we do next summer.
Speaking of watering, tell me what you're watering with this thunder turf.
This thunder turf, we watered it obviously several times a week in the first 2 weeks. We're down to watering it 1 minute a week now.
Really? 1 minute a week?
1 minute a week.
And we're getting some browning,
Yep.
but it's mostly green.
Yes.
And it has what I like, this weepy texture to it. Some people don't understand that that's what this is going to do, but yes, it's a weepy texture to it. So
Yep.
Thunder Turf, and then we have some other, the Habiturf from the Lady Bird Johnson Center, Wildflower Center. So we have these different types of turf,
Sure.
but they're really good. They're very drought tolerant. People have to know what its capabilities are.
You bet.
That's the main thing.
And this is an experiment in a way. I've never, to be honest, I've never used this in a landscape before, but I'm always trying to move toward the future, trying to find ways to have beauty, but also save water.
For those people who are thinking about using these types of native grass mixes, this is a perfect shot for it. It is a confined bed. It has a slight slope, and then it's being watered
Yep.
properly. It has a good amount of soil, I should add on.
Oh yeah.
Because we are here in Monte Vista, and it has a fairly decent amount of soil here in the historic district.
And we might have cheated a little bit.
Okay,
That's a nice
well, I didn't
bed
want to add
prep,
that to it, but yeah, we might have added that to it. Hey, Clay, I want to talk a little bit about this wall and these vines.
Okay.
It seems a very unusual structure, and the vines are a very common one. It's Confederate jasmine.
Right.
But the way you have it lined up here is very interesting.
Yep. It's kind of a little system I came up with. The hardware, I think the key is the hardware needs to make the wire stand away from the face of the fence, which allows the vine to grow up behind it and wrap around. This is a twiner, the growth habit of Confederate jasmine. So eventually we'll train it and it'll twine around all these cables and kind of create a little structure on the fence to soften the fence, but also to give the vine space so when it blooms in the spring, we'll have something special.
So yeah, I was going to say it's going to be a aromatic impact
Correct.
On it, but it's also going to give this lovely cozy feel.
Yeah, it'll
you know,
slowly.
this room-like feel
Correct.
that you are talking
Yeah.
about here. That kind of one of your goals.
Yeah, one of my
this
goals.
design.
My customer, one of the things she wanted when she came back here was to feel like she was in an outdoor room, and so by creating the fencing and the screening with the vines over time, with the vines growing into the fencing and the screening, it'll make this space feel more intimate and feel more like an outdoor room.
Clay, to wrap up here, I was just going to give you the opportunity to tell me some of your favorite perennials.
Sure. I've become a big fan of grasses, native grasses, muleys, fountain grass, miscanthus grass. I love salvias. Ground covers,
Yeah, what about some ground covers?
I've become a big fan of actually some of these native grasses like we have in a little meadow back here. I think it's
So
curly
the
mesquite.
thunder turf that you
Yeah,
had
the
here.
thunder turf. I think it's buffalo grass, curly mesquite,
And blue grama.
And blue grama. So, you know, it's fun. I'm from my family's from a ranching background,
Okay.
and a lot of these grasses that I saw as a kid kind of come back around, you know, toward the you know, later in life. So
Very forgiving, very drought tolerant. So they are a wonderful plant to have in the landscape.
for sure.
Now, we have a bunch of different mulches, both inorganic and organic. So do you have a favorite one, or are these your favorite ones? And then just point them out, the black mulch.
The black mulch is probably my favorite because it creates a great contrast with the greens of the plants, and it looks rich as well. And actually, the gravel we have here, it acts as a ground cover mulch, but it's also functional in that they're dry creek beds, and when it rains,
So it acts as a drainage facility.
Yep, and this patio, it actually drains around both sides of the patio when it
Excellent.
rains.
Okay.
So
Wonderful. Thank you, Clay. This has been a wonderful trip around this landscape. So I truly appreciate it. So I also want to thank you for tuning in. It's hot out there. It's August. There's lots of things to do in the August landscape. So let's get out there and go gardening. So in my wrap up, I was talking about activities in the landscape in August. There are two most important ones. One, sharpen and repair your tools. It's a good opportunity to get in there and sharpen and repair and oil your tools. Second thing, water when necessary. You're not watering to make everything look lush. You're making it so that those plants survive this drought and then into the fall. So remember those two things. Thanks again for watching Go Gardening.
Litter goes with the flow. Join the San Antonio River Authority in protecting area creeks and the river. Don't let litter trash your river. Let's all be river proud.
Welcome to Go Gardening. I'm Lee Marlowe with the San Antonio River Authority, and I'm here at the SAWS headquarters in a landscape area that they've been slowly changing over time. They've been incorporating some native plants here. We've got a beautiful example of a mixture of native plants that are well suited for our harsh conditions here with the excessive heat, even drought conditions. You can see a Texas mountain laurel tree above me here, and then right next to me is a wonderful landscape plant that's really suited for all types of our local conditions, from full shade to full sun. This is Turk's Cap, and you can see it's a little bit wilty right now, which is perfectly fine. It should look that way, but you can also see that it's producing flowers still, and these flowers are hummingbird favorites. We've actually had a few hummingbirds fighting over these flowers as we've been standing here. It's a beautiful addition to the landscape. It can bloom almost all through the growing season, and it does exceptionally well even in these very harsh conditions. You can see we're also on a slope, and so when it rains, that water doesn't stay here very long. It washes off, it goes by gravity through, so it's even harsher than a flat slope. But these plants help our local bird and pollinator species, and then they also help to stabilize the soil here on this slope, and that helps our whole watershed. So here we are in another good example with a variety of native plants of different textures and colors. In front of me, we've got Texas Sotol. Now this one's got really sharp spines on it, so you want to be careful where you place it. But it is a nice evergreen addition to your landscape, and it'll put up a large flower stalk periodically. You can see how it's been spaced out in this area. And then behind us, the bluish silver colored foliage is Texas sage. It has a lot of other names, Cenizo. This is an amazing plant that when it rains can be covered with beautiful purplish pink flowers, and it can flower repeatedly all through the growing season. These plants really help, again, to attract pollinators, birds. They do a lot to help stabilize this slope that we're on. You can hear behind us a variety of birds that are calling from the trees that are back there. We've got cedar elm, we've got anaqua. There's a wide variety of habitat opportunities for all of our little critters in the watershed. So here we are in another location with a mixture of some really great native plants that are well suited for our very harsh local conditions here. This is Greg's Mistflower, and it's already gone to seed. It's done flowering, and it's a little bit wilty. Again, don't be worried about that. should look like this right now. If we get rains later in the season, it'll perk right back up, it'll probably reflower again, and it'll serve as an amazing fall nectar plant for all kinds of butterflies, including monarch butterflies. And then behind it, you can see a grass with a bluish green color. That is big muley, and that is an amazing large ornamental grass. It stays evergreen. You have that beautiful backdrop with the color and the nice clump form that it has, and then it will also send up some beautiful delicate seed heads that are also quite ornamental. And grasses are important for a lot of butterfly and moth species and provide really good cover for wildlife. Thanks so much for joining us on Go Gardening. I'm Lee Marlowe with the San Antonio River Authority, and this is not a great time to be planting, but it is an excellent time to be planning your landscape. And you can give the river a helping hand by choosing local native plants for your landscape that match your site conditions. They will not only help our wildlife, but they'll help our watershed.
And started my business in Houston and did that for close to 10 years. We moved to San Antonio and brought my business here, and took a while to get it jump started, but we moved into Monte Vista, and neighbors found out what I did, and kind of word of mouth carried
Word
it.
of mouth is real important in San Antonio. I
Yeah.
can't stress that enough.
So that's really how I got established here.
Okay.
So.
Okay. I was wondering a little bit about your design principles. What do you feel is important in developing a landscape?
I think one of the main drivers of my design is the architecture of the home I'm dealing with. You want to complement the architecture and not fight against what's there. And I mean, luckily in Monte Vista, we're blessed with a ton of great design and architecture with the houses here. So I want to enhance the beauty of the house and not take away.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Mm-hmm. A real important question that I get all the time is the homeowner wants one set of design and plants, and the professional is, as you just said, the architecture. So how do you handle the meeting of the minds?
To be honest, I think as a younger guy, it was harder for me to do that. And as I've gotten more experienced and older and wiser, I think you want to help them see the possibilities, and I think we can go beyond, or based with my experience and what I can bring to the table is that ability to show them something that maybe they didn't see, and how it works with their home, and also the environment and the type of plant material we use, which I think is key now because of the water situation we're in. We need to find ways of saving water in the landscape, and also we can do that and have beauty.
That's great. Yeah.
So,
Thank you.
yeah.
Thanks so much for joining us on Go Gardening. I'm Lee Marlowe with the San Antonio River Authority, and this is not a great time to be planting, but it is an excellent time to be planning your landscape. And you can give the river a helping hand by choosing local native plants for your landscape that match your site conditions. They will not only help our wildlife, but they'll help our watershed.